Welcome to Who Are We? This is the space where we explore consciousness, psychology, myth, science. Really try and understand what makes us tick.
It's a big question, isn't it? What it means to be human.
Absolutely. And today we're tackling perhaps the biggest question of all. What is the meaning of life?
Whew, no small task.
Definitely not. But we've gathered insights from, well, everywhere. Ancient philosophies, world religions, modern psychology.
Trying to piece together a kind of map, maybe?
Exactly. A map for navigating this fundamental human quest. And think of this as a personal exploration, too. Maybe you've felt lost, or maybe you've had those moments where purpose just clicks.
Yeah, those glimmers of meaning. Hopefully some of what we discuss resonates.
And if it does, if these ideas spark something for you, we'd love it if you'd like and subscribe. We've got many more deep dives planned.
All right, let's get into it.
Okay, so meaning of life. Where do we even begin? Let's look back, way back, to some ancient perspectives. Our sources mention ancient China, for instance, Confucianism and Taoism.
Right, two major streams of thought there. What's interesting is how both looked outside the individual, in a way, for purpose.
How so?
Well, Confucianism, for example, really focused on society, on relationships. Meaning came from cultivating virtue, kindness, integrity, justice, that sort of thing.
Ren, humaneness.
Exactly, Ren. And fulfilling your social roles properly. The ideal was to become a junzi, a noble person.
So contributing to social harmony.
Precisely. It was about finding your place and acting well within that structure, learning to be human, essentially.
Okay, so meaning through social connection and ethical living. And Taoism, that feels different.
It is, yeah. Taoism looked more towards nature, towards the cosmos.
Yeah.
Finding meaning by harmonizing with the Tao, the natural flow of the universe.
Less about social rules, more about natural rhythms.
You could say that. Less about rigid structure, more about aligning yourself with this greater cosmic order. So both sought purpose and aligning with something bigger, just different kinds of bigger. One social, one cosmic.
Interesting contrast. Let's shift over to the West now. Ancient Greece and Rome. Big names there, grappling with the same question.
Definitely. Socrates, for instance, his famous line, "The unexamined life is not worth living."
Which suggests meaning is tied to self-reflection.
Absolutely. The Greco-Roman thinkers really emphasized reason and virtue. Flourishing, or eudaimonia, wasn't just about feeling good. It was about realizing your potential, living excellently through wisdom and virtue.
And the Stoics took that even further.
They did. Stoicism focused heavily on living in harmony with nature, with your rational self, accepting what life throws at you, fate.
So focusing on what you can control your own character.
Exactly. Virtue, wisdom, courage, justice, self-discipline, that was the only real good. A virtuous person, even a beggar, could live more meaningfully than, say, a corrupt king.
Wow. That really puts the focus inward, doesn't it, on character and action.
It really does. Both traditions, in their own ways, located meaning right there within the individual's choices and inner state.
Okay, now our sources also mention something a bit different. Ancient esoteric teachings. Hermeticism, Gnosticism. What was their angle?
Ah, yes. This is more about inner knowledge, spiritual insight. The core idea was discovering meaning through, self-knowledge and God knowledge.
That phrase, man is a microcosm of the macrocosm.
Exactly. That connection between your inner world and the whole universe. Hermeticism used the metaphor of alchemy transforming yourself from base metal into gold, aligning the below with the above.
Inner transformation.
Right. And Gnosticism was about waking up from ignorance, realizing your divine spark, and returning to this realm of light. Both saw the soul as having this destiny beyond just physical life. Meaning was fulfilled through spiritual illumination and inner alchemy.
Inner alchemy. I like that. Okay, let's move into world religions. How does Christianity frame the meaning of life?
Well, in Christianity, it's fundamentally rooted in your relationship with God. The classic line sums it up. Man's chief end is to glorify God and to enjoy him forever.
So purpose comes from God.
Yes, the idea is that everyone has a God-given purpose, a vocation. This usually involves serving God and serving your neighbor, practicing virtues like love, compassion, forgiveness.
And there's an afterlife aspect too, right?
Very much so. Life on earth is often seen as preparation for eternal life with God, salvation. And interestingly, even suffering can find meaning within this framework, through sacrifice, through service. Viktor Frankl noted this connection.
And love seems key.
Absolutely central. As one source puts it, true worship is acknowledging God in everything, and the highest form is obedience to his commandments of love. So, meaning through faith, service, love, and that divine connection.
Okay. Now, Buddhism offers a very different perspective, described as non-theistic. How does it approach meaning?
Buddhism starts right at the deep end, you could say. It begins by acknowledging suffering, dukkha, and the fact that everything is impermanent.
A stark starting point.
It is, but it's seen as realistic. The purpose, then, is to liberate yourself from that suffering by understanding its roots, craving, attachment, ignorance, and then uprooting them. The ultimate goal is enlightenment, nirvana. It's sometimes described as trying to solve life, you know?
And the path to that solution is laid out.
Yes, in the Four Noble Truths. 1, suffering exists. 2, it comes from craving. 3, it can cease, that's nirvana. And 4, there's a path to make it cease.
The Eightfold Path.
That's the one. It covers ethical conduct, mental discipline like meditation and wisdom. It's often called the middle way, avoiding extremes. So meaning in Buddhism is found in the active work towards enlightenment, reducing suffering for yourself and others through ethical living, mindfulness, and developing wisdom.
Moving closer to nirvana. It's a very psychological approach in a way.
Very much so. Experiential, psychological, focused on understanding the mind and transcending suffering.
Fascinating. Okay, let's shift gears again to psychology itself. Carl Jung had some profound things to say about meaning.
Oh, definitely. Jung believed we have an innate spiritual instinct. He saw meaning emerging from our engagement with symbols, with archetypes, those universal patterns in the collective unconscious. Think of the hero's journey, for example.
Right. And he saw a lack of meaning as problematic.
Hugely problematic, a major source of suffering. His solution often involved what he called personal myth-making.
Finding your own story.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Discovering or creating the inner narratives that give your life direction and purpose. For Jung, meaning wasn't just internal or external, it was this dynamic dance between your inner world and the outer world.
And the ultimate goal was
Individuation, becoming whole, integrating all those disparate parts of yourself, conscious and unconscious, light and shadow. It's an inner adventure, really, finding your unique purpose by confronting yourself fully.
confronting the shadow. That sounds intense, but necessary for wholeness.
Certainly thought so.
Then there's Abraham Maslow, humanistic psychology. His hierarchy of needs is pretty famous.
Yeah.
How does that relate to meaning?
Well, Maslow's hierarchy suggests we need to meet basic needs first, food, safety, belonging, before we can really focus on higher level needs like self-esteem and, at the top, self-actualization.
Fulfilling your potential.
Right. But later, Maslow actually added another level above self-actualization, self-transcendence.
Going beyond the self.
Exactly. Finding meaning by connecting to something larger than yourself, serving a cause, or having peak experiences that transcend the everyday ego. So the kind of meaning we seek evolves as we climb that hierarchy.
That makes sense. Like maybe a midlife crisis is partly a shift towards those higher needs.
Could be, yeah. A shift from focusing on, say, security or achievement towards deeper quadrants of meaning, potential, and contribution. And Maslow also really stressed that meaning is personal, following your bliss, your authentic calling.
Finding what resonates for you. Okay, now for a perhaps bleaker but still important view. Existentialism. Sartre, Camus.
Yeah, the existentialists start from a challenging premise. The universe itself doesn't offer any inherent meaning, it's just there.
So we're on our own.
In a sense, Sartre's famous line is, existence precedes essence. We exist first, then we define who we are, our essence, through our choices and actions. We're condemned to be free, meaning we have to choose, and we're responsible for creating our own meaning.
That's a heavy responsibility.
It is. Meaning for Sartre comes from living authentically according to values you've consciously chosen. It's entirely self-determined.
And Camus, he talked about the absurd, right?
Right. The absurdity lies in the clash between our deep human longing for meaning and order and the universe's apparent silence, its indifference.
So how do we deal with that absurdity?
Camus said we should confront it, rebel against it, not give in to despair. Find meaning through passion, through intense engagement with life, through perseverance. His famous image is Sisyphus, doomed to push a rock uphill forever.
But he says we must imagine Sisyphus happy.
Exactly. Finding meaning and even joy in the struggle itself, in the act of choosing to persist despite the apparent pointlessness. For Camus, meaning might be simple, whatever stops you from killing yourself. It's found in rebellion, freedom, passion, human connection, embracing the present moment, even without cosmic guarantees.
Wow. Creating meaning through defiance and engagement. It's powerful. So these are some heavy philosophical and psychological ideas. How do more modern models try to synthesize this?
Well, many modern models kind of weave together threads from psychology and philosophy. They often highlight a few key ingredients for a meaningful life.
Such as?
Things like having a sense of purpose, goals that give you direction, feeling self-worth, believing you matter, a sense of belonging, being part of a community or something bigger than just you.
Connection seems really important across the board.
It does. And also what some call positive life regard, basically having a framework of beliefs or values and feeling like you're actually living in line with them.
So it's not just one thing, but a combination.
Yeah, meaning is seen as multifaceted. You can find it in work, relationships, spirituality, hobbies, creative pursuits. It's about figuring out what truly matters to you and then trying to live that out.
Having something to do, someone to love, something to hope for. That old saying captures some of it.
It really does. It's about aligning your actions with your values and maybe even weaving life's inevitable setbacks into a larger story of growth and resilience.
That brings us to another really evocative metaphor our sources mention, the alchemical journey. How does that relate to finding meaning?
Alchemy. It's such a rich metaphor for transformation, which seems central to finding meaning. Traditionally, it was about turning lead into gold, right?
Right.
But psychologically or spiritually, it's about the inner great work, transforming our own base nature into something more refined, more whole, more golden.
So life itself is the alchemical process.
Kind of, yeah.
Wow.
Life's challenges are the heat, the retort, where we get broken down and reformed. The alchemists had stages for this. The first is nigredo, the blackening dissolution.
That sounds like crisis.
It often is. Confusion, despair, the dark night of the soul. Old forms, old ways of seeing the world, your ego structures, they start to break down. This produces the prima materia, the raw, unconscious stuff we need to work with, confronting your shadow.
So hitting rock bottom can be the start?
Alchemically speaking, yes. It's the necessary breakdown before rebuilding can happen. It feels awful, but it contains the potential.
Okay, so after the darkness, the nigredo.
Comes albedo, the whitening, illumination. This is where insight starts to dawn. Clarity emerges from the chaos. You start to integrate things, understand things differently. Hope returns.
Making the darkness conscious.
Exactly. You're purifying the prima materia, removing the dross, the old limiting beliefs. The suffering of nigredo starts to feel like it had a purpose to purify, to instruct.
And the final stage?
Rubedo, the reddening. This signifies wholeness, vitality, passion. It's the integration of all parts of yourself, the conscious and unconscious, the masculine and feminine principles, finding your authentic self and purpose. It's the culmination, the gold.
So life transitions, adolescence, midlife, career changes could be seen through this lens.
Absolutely. They often involve a breakdown of the old nigredo, a period of sorting things out and gaining insight, albedo, and hopefully moving towards a more integrated way of being, rubedo. It reframes suffering not as pointless, but potentially transformative. Through putrefaction, the mystery is revealed, as the alchemist said.
Meaning is forged, not just found. It's an ongoing process.
Exactly. It's not a destination you arrive at once and for all. It evolves.
And this ties into the idea that challenges are catalysts, right? Feeling lost isn't failure, it's part of the process.
Yes. It's so important to remember that. Feeling lost, confused, like you don't have it figured out, that's normal, especially earlier in life. One source jokes, of course you don't have it all together at 25 or 30, you're not supposed to.
That's reassuring.
It is. Wisdom and self-knowledge take time, they take experience. People often talk about post-traumatic growth crises, can clarify what truly matters.
Like the fire refining the gold.
Precisely. Even those midlife reckonings Jung talked about, often a shift from external goals to internal meaning, are part of this natural unfolding. The key is patience, self-compassion. Rilke's advice. Be patient toward all that is unsolved in your heart. Live the questions now.
Live the questions. I like that. It takes the pressure off finding immediate answers. And that idea, don't find purpose, purpose finds us.
Yeah, that speaks to a certain kind of trust in the process, doesn't it? Maybe meaning emerges more organically than through frantic searching. And it's okay not to have it all figured out, ever, really.
Even later in life?
Sure. Maturity brings perspective, but maybe not all the answers. There's a quote about not being able to see all the cards in your hand when you're young, needing time to learn how to aim. The potential is there, but clarity develops.
So the advice is, be your age.
Pretty much. Don't beat yourself up for not being 56 when you're 26. Don't carry burdens that belong to a later stage. Mistakes, feeling like things are a mess, that's often the raw material for future strength and wisdom.
Like the blade being hammered to the fire?
Exactly. It's maybe your first or second time in the fire. There's still a lot of hammer work needed. Embrace the stage you're in. Fulfillment is a long game.
That's a much kinder perspective than feeling like you should have everything sorted out.
It really is.
So, wrapping this up, it feels like the meaning of life isn't some single secret password we need to find.
Not at all. It's much more like a personal journey, unique to each of us, and something that changes and deepens over time.
We've seen so many paths: virtue, harmony, divine connection, self-discovery, creating meaning through choice, finding it in service.
And crucially, finding it forged in the challenges, in the breakdowns and breakthroughs, like that alchemical transformation.
So the search itself, the process of engaging with these questions and our own experiences, that seems to be where a lot of the meaning actually lies.
I think that's a really key takeaway. It's dynamic, it's unfolding.
Okay, so a final thought to leave everyone with. If purpose does find us, maybe the question isn't what's my grand purpose, but
Maybe more like what's nudging you right now? What subtle currents in your life are pulling you towards something that feels significant?
and what prima materia, those messy, difficult, unformed bits of your experience, might actually hold the potential for your own transformation, your own gold.
Yeah. Something to reflect on as you continue your own deep dive into who you are and what makes life feel truly meaningful for you.